Hey guys, Toby Morrison here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the biggest missing piece to the puzzle that doctors don't talk about. And this is really important. And this is not to say, to badmouth doctors, there's some brilliant ones out there, but they simply just don't have the time and the expertise to be teaching this stuff. This would have absolutely changed my life if I had found this information and knew about the practicalities of it 17 years ago when I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. Instead, I was told there was nothing you could do, and I was put on a journey that took a long time to figure out, and it was so painful and excruciating. This is the reason why we do this work today, and we have an amazing online recovery program that's helping people in 53 countries. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen with you. This is more of a training today, so I hope you enjoy it, and we'll just talk about a few different things that come up along the way too. The biggest key factors that doctors aren't talking about. If you can imagine, we basically have a pie chart, and it kind of goes a little bit like this. Now, what happens when you go to a doctor's clinic? They just say, sleep well. They don't talk about diet very rarely. Okay, if your doctor talks about nutrition, then that's pretty amazing. They talk about pills, medication, and then they just simply say rest. The problem with this is you're constantly doing things that, when someone says sleep better, it's pretty not useful, because it's like, well, how do I sleep better when I feel so crap? Okay, so that's pretty much blurred out. Pills and medication, the amount of times, and blood tests, and the amount of times that I was given more pills, more antibiotics, more things to try and fix it, it just made things way worse. And basically, when the doctor says there's nothing you can do, you just got to go home and rest, you basically just sit there and wait to get better. And I've never met anyone who sits there and waits to get better. It just doesn't work like that. Show me someone who's literally sat there and just waited to get better. It doesn't work like that with chronic illness. Okay. There are certain things you need to do and implement consistently in order for change to happen. And we're going to talk about that today, because I think it's really, really important that we flip this around completely. And so the focus really is lifestyle factors that don't get talked about. And this is like 10% that people talk about, and then this is 90. And the doctor might say you got to learn how to pace, and that's about it. And I just think this is so not useful. Unfortunately, there's some doctors out there, and this might have been you, where they say to you, you're making it up, it's all in your head, or you're just stressed out, or you're just depressed. There's nothing else going on. But deep down that that's not the truth. So I want to remind you that you're not going crazy, that what you're going through is 100% real. What we need to do, though, is flip this on its head and actually change the game for you. Instead, we need to have a holistic approach. We'll split it up into sections. The first talking point needs to be your baseline. With that is acceptance. Now, I'm not saying accept where you're at forever. I'm saying accept where you're at so you can start moving forwards. Acceptance is not resignation. Acceptance is the starting point for change. Okay. When I say baseline, what I mean is to figure out exactly where you're at, what you can do without feeling any worse than you currently do. This is a game changer. This needs to be the number one priority, because you can try all the pills and the supplements in the world, but if you keep pushing and crashing and you're just not getting any consistency with your daytime routine or your nighttime routine in terms of quality sleep, nothing else that you try outside of yourself is going to be that helpful. And unfortunately, most of this stuff, supplements and trying a million different things, it's all outside of yourself. And none of it's focused on the things that are inside that you can control within the 24 hours that you have each day. To be honest, I've never met anybody who's recovered who purely focused on the outside. In fact, usually that's the last thing they focused on. And I'm going to share with you what it looks like later. Baseline, acceptance. Okay. Then we need to look at nutrition and gut health. Again, this is all coincided in the one process. We don't do diets at CFS Health. We just have nutrition plans. And food is fuel. I'm not going to go into deep into the trainings of it, but you just need to understand this process. And I'm going to show you why this is so important. Sleep. You need to get your rhythm, your circadian rhythm, in order. And this goes back to your baseline. Your day determines your night. And if you don't have the right baseline, the right amount for you, you're either going to be sleeping too much or you're going to be sleeping too little. You're going to have irritable sleeping patterns. And it's ironic because most people outside of chronic fatigue syndrome think that you just sleep all day. And most of the case, you have interrupted sleep, unless you're in the phase where you've just come off a virus or an infection where you literally need all the sleep you can get. So that's number 3, nervous system. This is really important to calm the nervous system. It will help with everything else that we've spoken about. But the funny thing is that your baseline is what calms your nervous system down the most, and your routine structure does. And the nutrition actually helps calm your nervous system down too, if you're eating right. And obviously sleep rhythm will help too. But nervous system calming can be really, really helpful, and is something that needs to be worked on. There's actually a couple more that we need to put in here. Reconditioning muscles. Now, this also coincides with your immune system. When I say recondition, I'm talking about restorative movement and reconditioning your body. Now, for a lot of people, movement is the last thing you need to be focusing on. It can come way later down the track. You've got to focus on your baseline first. But once you're getting functionality back into your daily life and you're moving around the house, you're able to get outside a little bit, that's when we start to look at reconditioning your body and starting to restore energy and starting to rebuild and recondition your muscles, which in turn, if you do it right and appropriately, is going to help everything else. It's going to help put on healthy weight. If you're underweight, it's going to help you lose weight if you're overweight. Especially when you're calming down the nervous system. So it's all interplayed here, and you're going to see a common theme coming up in a moment. Mindset is super, super important too. The guilt and the shame that you might be going through right now can be so heavy that it's holding you back from recovery. And inside our online recovery program, we have a whole 1-hour workshop on letting go of guilt with a guilt expert. And it's unbelievable the amount of change that happens after members watch that video. It's like they fully let go of the burden of guilt, and they focus on what they can do and moving forwards with where they're at now. And so I know how hard it is, what you're going through, but at the same time, we need to be honest with ourselves and go and look at what's really holding us back. Mindset, fear, letting fear dictate your decisions, over-analyzing everything. We need to let go of that in order to move forward. So again, you need to work on your mindset. I'm not saying this is a mental problem. It just affects you emotionally. You can't tell me that you going from living your life, and you're probably a type A personality, someone who absolutely squeezes all the juice out of life, to not being able to live it is not going to challenge you emotionally. It can screw around with your identity, what's important in your life. It basically changes everything. We don't say go and get the old you back. We say let's start creating a new life now. What do you want it to look like? Who do you want to become? Who do you want to be? How does it feel? And we move towards that. So mindset's super important. And then we talk about lifestyle progression. And this is about integrating back into life. And that's a process in itself. It's a cycle. So if we go here, we go 1, 2, 3. We focus on baseline nutrition, gut health, energy, food as fuel, sleep, calming the nervous system, reconditioning the body, mindset, lifestyle progression. And then the coolest thing is when we come back here, this goes up to another level. So then you readjust your baseline, your capacity improves, your stamina improves, your symptoms decrease because you're getting better. And then we start the cycle again. And what happens is, over time, the more you do this, the more your life expands, the more your mindset expands as well. Initially, your goals are going to probably be quite small. But as you start to get better and start to live your life and enjoy your life more, you start to think bigger, dream better. You start to see other people, like in our program, we just had one guy finish his MBA at university. We had another lady to start her own business. We had another lady, be able to go and watch her son play rugby for the first time in 2 years. And so now her goal was that. And now it's like, what else do I want to do? What else is possible? And so it kind of starts to expand like that. And this is what people aren't talking about. And it's crazy. Like, this is what moves the needle the most. Why? Is because you are in control of it. You got to focus on what you can control. The problem with the medical system is that 90% of the time it's not focused on what you can control, it's everything outside of you. That's why it simply doesn't work. And it just leaves you feeling lost, upset, and basically hopeless. And that's not what we want. Instead, we want this. We want to build our capacity, strengthen stamina over time, which will in return decrease symptoms, we'll get healthier. And we focus on these 7 components and life starts to expand. Now, the most important thing that I think that comes from this, that a lot of people don't talk about, proximity, routine, structure, baseline. Once you've got all that sorted above, proximity becomes key. And when I say proximity, what I mean is success. And what I mean by success is possibility and seeing possibility for yourself through others. The more you start to surround yourself with people who are doing really well and you can learn from them, the more likely it is for you to embed the same practices, behaviors, and changes that they have made in your own life. And this is why if you spend all your time up here for years and years and years and years and years, of course you're going to have no hope. Of course you're going to be skeptical. Of course you're going to think that it's not possible for you. Of course you're going to think that you're too old. Happy to break it to you. We just had a grandma who is 65 recover fully and is living her life and so happy again, playing with her grandkids and living on a farm and gardening and all that kind of stuff. Even people older than that. So, and people who have suffered for 20 plus years. But what happened, the reason why is they eventually found our work and they started doing this. And they started to focus everything on what they could control. And sure, once you've got this stuff, sure, you can take additional supplements and medication that might be helpful for you and useful for you, but it's just a supplement. It's here to supplement your life. It's not the be all and end all, and it shouldn't be the focus. And this is what we talk about. Even our integrative doctor, Dr. Olivia Lessler, she always says, start with food first. Before you even go to supplements, get the vitamins from the food. And we teach you inside our program exactly what to have, what to eat, what vitamins you need from which food source. But again, for her to say that a supplement is literally just a supplement, as in it's a supplement to your life, and if it helps 5 or 10%, great, but it shouldn't be the focus. Focus on what you can control. And I think this needs to really be spoken about, the proximity towards success with possibility, which ultimately creates hope. And from hope, we have something to wake up for, and it actually builds momentum. There's a really interesting thing that someone mentioned to me the other day about motivation. Toby, I just need to be more motivated. And I disagreed with him. And I said, no, you don't need more motivation, because motivation doesn't last. You'll be excited for a day or two and then it'll drop off. What you need is purpose. What you need is a reason to do the work despite not feeling like it. Because what we know for sure is consistency is the key. And it needs to be consistency over intensity. Because most of the time, people just try and do everything all at once and it doesn't work. And so you need to simplify to multiply. And when I say multiply, I'm talking about progress, which equals progress. This is just really important to understand. The reason why you're not getting results is because you're spending 90% of your time outside of yourself and you're getting nowhere. You're driving to appointments, you're trying a million different things, expecting someone else to get you and your body better. Whereas you need to flip it on its head completely and spend 90% of your time here doing this work. And it's, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. And what you're going through is hard enough as it is. But like I said, I've had people stay here for 20 plus years, come here and go, oh my God, now I know what my baseline is and I can actually do something. And oh my God, food and nutrition actually can help me. And finally, I'm sleeping better. And now my nervous system feels better. And now I can start to restore energy and strength in my body. And now all of a sudden my mindset's better because I've got something to focus on and move towards my life. And I'm working towards my goals. And I'm starting to progress in my life. It's just amazing what happens when we do this. So we want to focus again on what we can control, focus on the routine, structure, and baseline. And remember about the proximity, community, success, possibility, hope, momentum, consistency over intensity, simplify, which multiplies, which equals progress. And I know this might seem like, but that's all well and good, but I'm this and I've got these symptoms. Again, you need to focus on your health on building your health and well-being. That's all you need to focus on. When you've been so focused on the opposite for so long, I know it's hard, but it's amazing what happens when you fully immerse yourself in this and do it properly. The rewards can be absolutely great. Like I said, living life again. Okay, there's just so many stories. We've got a lady at the moment writing a book. We've got another girl who just is having a baby. She was told she was never going to be able to fall pregnant. Is pretty much about to have a baby any week soon. Traveling the world again, traveling to different countries from Europe. We've got a client in London who just went to Spain and Croatia on a holiday with her husband and kids. All these things are absolutely possible, but you need to make these changes for yourself. Focus on the 90% of what you can control versus 90% of your time, attention, energy, and money into things that are outside of your control. I hope this video helps. I'm going to leave a link in the description or on this webpage somewhere where we can help you more, give you some free resources to start implementing some of this work, especially around your baseline, which will help you move forward. So hope this video helps, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.